At the end of World War II, a secret operation unfolded, one that would forever change the course of history. It was called Operation Paperclip. The United States, desperate to gain an edge in the Cold War, smuggled hundreds of Nazi scientists into its ranks, men who had once worked for Adolf Hitler's war machine. Among them were 7 individuals who would shape the future of US space exploration. But at what cost? This is the untold story of how America's journey to the stars was built on a dark past. In 1945, with the fall of Nazi Germany, both the United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to seize the Reich's technological secrets. Rockets, jet engines, and chemical weapons were the spoils of war. The US military quickly realised that if they didn't act fast, the Soviets would claim the scientific minds behind these advancements. Thus, Operation Paperclip was born, a covert mission to recruit top Nazi scientists, regardless of their past crimes. These scientists were offered new identities, employment, and the promise of a fresh start, despite their involvement in wartime atrocities. Wernher von Braun, perhaps the most famous figure in Operation Paperclip, was a brilliant but controversial figure. During World War II, he led the development of the V2 rocket, a deadly missile that terrorised London and Antwerp, causing thousands of deaths. These rockets were built using forced labour from concentration camps, including the notorious Mittelbau-Dora camp, where thousands of workers perished under inhumane conditions. After the war, von Braun and his team surrendered to American forces and were quickly integrated into the US military's missile development programs. He became the director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center and was the mastermind behind the Saturn V rocket, which enabled the Apollo 11 moon landing. Von Braun was hailed as a hero of American spaceflight, but his dark past remains a subject of intense debate. Should his groundbreaking achievements overshadow the horrors tied to his wartime work? Arthur Rudolph was another key figure in the V2 rocket program. He supervised production at the Mittelwerk factory, where thousands of forced labourers from concentration camps were subjected to brutal conditions. Many prisoners died from starvation, disease, and mistreatment. Rudolph was directly responsible for overseeing this horrific operation. Despite this, Rudolph was welcomed into the United States, where he played a pivotal role in the development of the Saturn V rocket. However, unlike von Braun, his past eventually caught up with him. In 1984, after facing allegations of war crimes, he was forced to renounce his US citizenship and was deported to West Germany. His story stands as one of the rare instances where a paperclip scientist was held accountable for his actions. Kurt Debus was a Nazi party member and SS officer responsible for launching V2 rockets under Hitler's command. He worked closely with top Nazi officials to ensure the success of the missile program. Despite his deep ties to the Nazi regime, he was given a prominent role in the United States. In America, Debus became the first director of the Kennedy Space Center, playing a crucial role in launching Apollo missions. He helped establish Cape Canaveral as a hub for US space exploration. His ability to transition from serving the Nazi war machine to leading America's space program raises ethical concerns. Should a man with such a past have been entrusted with one of NASA's most prestigious positions? Hermann Oberth was a pioneer of rocketry whose theoretical work laid the foundation for spaceflight. Born in 1894, he was one of the first scientists to propose the use of multi-stage rockets for space exploration. His writings, including The Rocket into Planetary Space, 1923, inspired an entire generation of engineers, including Wernher von Braun. During World War II, Oberth worked on the German rocket program, contributing to the development of guided missile technology. Though he was not directly involved in military strategy, his research played a crucial role in advancing the Nazi war effort. He worked with von Braun at Peenemünde, helping to refine the technology behind the V2 rocket. After the war, Oberth was brought to the US under Operation Paperclip, where he assisted the Army Ballistic Missile Agency and later NASA. Unlike some of his peers, Oberth was not accused of war crimes, but his ideological affiliations with Nazi sympathies remained controversial. His work helped propel humanity into the space age, but his legacy is complex. Was he simply a scientist pursuing knowledge, or was he complicit in enabling a regime that weaponized his research? Eberhard Rees was another critical figure in the Nazi rocket program. He worked at Peenemünde, where the V2 rockets were developed, and later at Mittelwerk, where forced labour was used to produce them. His work ensured that Germany's missile program remained operational during the final years of the war. In the US, Rees became a close associate of Wernher von Braun and eventually served as deputy director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. He played a significant role in the Apollo program, yet his involvement in Nazi war efforts was largely ignored. Unlike others, Rees avoided much public scrutiny. But should silence absolve him of accountability? Walter Dornberger was the military commander of the V2 program at Peenemünde. He worked directly with high-ranking Nazi officials, including Heinrich Himmler, to advance Germany's missile capabilities. As a high-ranking officer, he was responsible for overseeing the development and deployment of rockets that killed thousands of civilians. After the war, Dornberger was initially detained as a war criminal, but was later recruited by the US. He worked for Bell Aircraft, contributing to advanced aerospace research. Later, he advised NASA and the US Air Force on space vehicle development. His extensive knowledge of military rocketry made him a valuable asset in Cold War-era military planning. His ability to transition from a Nazi war strategist to an influential figure in the American defense industry raises profound ethical dilemmas. Did the US compromise its moral standing by employing a man whose weapons had caused so much devastation? Or was his expertise too valuable to ignore in the race against the Soviet Union? Ernst Stühlinger was a physicist and engineer who worked at Peenemünde, where he contributed to ion propulsion research and missile guidance systems. Though he was not directly involved in war crimes, his work supported Nazi Germany's missile program, which caused untold destruction. After moving to the US under Operation Paperclip, Stühlinger became a leading expert in electric propulsion. At NASA, he played a key role in developing spacecraft propulsion systems that would later be used in deep space missions. He was instrumental in advancing ion thrusters, a technology crucial for long-duration space travel. Unlike many of his peers, Stühlinger actively acknowledged the moral implications of his past. Later in life, he defended his work by arguing that scientific progress could be used for good, regardless of its origins. However, his contributions, like those of his fellow Paperclip scientists, remain entangled with ethical concerns over his past affiliations. Operation Paperclip was a moral paradox. The men who helped Hitler wage war were the same ones who helped America reach the moon. Without them, the US might have fallen behind in the space race. But at what cost? The victims of Nazi atrocities were never given justice, while their former oppressors were given new lives, new careers, and new opportunities. The ethical dilemmas remain unresolved. Should their contributions be celebrated, or should we never forget the dark origins of America's scientific progress? Did the US make the right choice in recruiting these men, or was it a deal with the devil? Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more videos like this, make sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.